everybody, I am going to show you a border today using the Birthday Bonanza collection. If you need any supplies for this project or just want to get in touch with me, here's my information. You can order from my Creative Memories website. And if you are in the Kaysville area in northern Utah, you're welcome to come join us in person to crop for the weekend or a day, or just to come by and shop. Email me any questions. If you'd like to be added to my email list, I'd be happy to send you the project instructions that we'll do with the project recipe for this. But today I'm just doing the borders that eventually we'll put on our project recipe in this one we're making in September. So in the original project recipe, there are 3 strips we put straight down on the 2 sides of the paper, either side of the papers. But I wanted to jazz it up just a little bit. And I could have sworn there were instructions somewhere, either on the blog or a video, for the border I had in mind, but I could not find it anywhere. So I'm gonna do my version of it, and then if I find the original, I'll link that too. So I'm gonna start with, for my borders, some strips of navy paper. And then when I actually put together the project recipe, I will modify some of the things there just to match these borders that I'm doing instead of the strips here. We're going to cut our border base to be 2 3/4 inches wide. And this was not a full sheet of navy paper, as you can probably tell. Just a half sheet. 2 3/4, and then cut off 1/4 inch. So if you want to measure, you can get out your ruler and measure all the way to 11 3/4. You can also line up just with this little, I don't know if it shows up on the video very well, but it's kind of where the shiny plastic and the less shiny white plastic meet, and that's 1/4 inch right there, and that's just going to be a scrap. And then when we put our project recipe together, these borders we're making here are going to replace the 3 strips. And because we're cutting it a little bit shorter, it'll have a little bit of a border around it as well. We will use the 12-inch trimmer some more, so I'll just set this off to the side for now. And those navy pieces are going to be the base of our borders. We're going to punch out 3 strips, 3 colors with 2 strips from each color. And these are also not full sheets. I've already used them for something else a little bit. But we're going to use the border maker system and punch out using this cartridge. The brand new one that came out with this Birthday Bonanza collection is called Confetti. So the Confetti border maker cartridge in the border maker system. I have one of the older systems, so I've got gray with the blue guide. Yours might be dark blue, yours might be white and blue. No matter what color it is, it works the same. And I put in all 3 sheets of paper at the same time. I'm going to punch them all very carefully. It is much, you can tell a big difference punching multiple sheets versus 1. I think it's probably not recommended to punch 3 at a time, but I have heard Creative Memories home office people say that it's okay to punch 2 sheets of the Creative Memories decorative paper at once. You do not want to try this with cardstock. The cardstock is too heavy and just too rough on the tools to stack up if you're trying to punch, especially a more intricate border. This is what we would call a knockout style border punch, meaning it doesn't cut anything from the very edge of the paper. You can see the silver part of the border is where it doesn't punch. The empty space is the part that does punch out. So it just knocks out these little shapes along the edge as we go. And because we want these to become strips, we are going to trim them away from the paper after but I'll just punch all the sheets, and then we'll cut all the sheets as well. And I think the confetti from this one is so cute. It's like literal birthday confetti that you might have at a party. You could stick it in a balloon. You could put it in a shaker card. This would be really cute and something like that. Or just attaching the small pieces to your borders and lights. So I've got a nice little stack of confetti. And we're not going to use the border maker system anymore. Set that off up here. The size we're going to trim these to is 1 inch and 1/8, so 1 1/8 inches. And you can see the 1/8 inch marks and 1/16 inch marks between the 1/4 inch marks. So not to 1 1/4, but to 1 1/8, halfway to that next 1/4 line. And that gives us a nice even strip with kind of equal spacing on both sides. Okay, and the rest of this paper is not going to be used for this border. I'm going to save it to put the project recipe together with later. So stay tuned for that video. And as far as adhesive, I'm just using my regular tape runner today. I would probably recommend a repositionable tape runner. That will probably work a little better for this project. But the regular one is just fine because you've got plenty of space to the sides where you can put the adhesive pieces. You might also consider using your precision point adhesive for something like this, but there's some pros and cons with that one. I do really like precision point for small things, but wet adhesive on a large area tends to make your paper warp a little bit, and it sometimes can seep through the edges and then it looks kind of messy. And I'm just peeling off the extra tape I got on the edges. Let's see, is it showing through over there? A little tiny bit. Folding where I don't want it to show through because I got a little much in a few places. And then at the beginning, it really doesn't matter what your angle is. You're just going to want to pick an angle to begin with. I'm going to start in the corner and angle all of our pieces up. We're going to go this direction with the pieces for one border and the opposite direction with the same pieces for the other border. And again, this is a 2 3/4 inch wide strip, and it's 11 3/4 inches wide in height, which means when we put it on the 12 by 12 page, it's going to have just a little bit of the background showing behind it. I'm going to try to make sure my papers, my strips here, line up with the same pattern the same way, and this might mean I don't have enough to just do with the strips I've got here, so I may need to punch out some more. In the meantime, I'll try to keep going, and I'll show you where we're going with this in a minute. Okay, once we have our first set of borders attached, I'm actually going to do the other side and just make sure I've got my angles going the same direction. Or I guess the opposite direction, but at a similar angle. So I will line those up and then start working on both borders at the same time. And you don't have to do it this way, but I feel like I'm going to get a better result for the way I want to do it. And we will trim off these pieces and then start stacking up above so we fill this whole navy blue background. Okay, so the corners meet up there, And then I want to make my like yellow light green piece match itself in a little V shape. So I'm not measuring, I could, but I feel like just lining it up like that helps me get them in the right angles. Okay, I'm at the point now where I have to trim on both sides. I'm going to just trim these little small corners off. I probably won't come back and use those, we'll see, but most likely those will be just trash. And then I'm going to trim the long sides off and start lining those up and stacking until I get to the top. And then this pink could definitely fill in that little gap, but again, I'm gonna just save it for a sec to see if I need to do anything different. I'm gonna do the same thing on this side and just finish my border to the same point here. And if you liked the way that looked and trimmed it all down, you could leave your corners as they are. You don't have to fill in all the way top to bottom, but that was my plan, and that's still what I'm kind of aiming to do. But aren't these backgrounds so cute? The colors are just really fun together and the patterns are really fun. There's a good mix of like some less girly looking papers, which I know doesn't, if it's pink, it doesn't have to be for a girl, but I like that there are some papers in this collection that don't have pink, even though pink is one of the collection colors. Okay, so I'm at the same spot on both sides now. And I need to fill in a few more pieces, top and bottom, but the pieces I had for each side were not long enough. So I'm gonna see if these pieces are, if I were to flip-flop them. Looks like still not. If I wanted to turn them upside down and do them with the different direction of the wavies, then I would have long enough pieces. But I've done all my pieces in the same direction, so I don't want to have one little piece that's going in a different direction. I will just punch out one more strip of the blue. And then with the pink, I should have plenty. Let me just use this for spacing. So I'm going to need a little bit of a corner of pink down here and on this side, and then obviously at the top. So I can fill in those top corners now. And if you don't like using your trimmer, your large trimmer, to cut these down as you're attaching things, you could just do this with scissors. You don't have to get a whole trimmer out for this. I will probably, after I get these all attached, do a little bit of cleanup work just to make sure my edges are nice and even. Because I noticed as I was going, there was one time I cut it a little long and had a little bit of leftover. Maybe more than one time. One time that I noticed. I'd like my border to be nice and even along the edges. I have just a little tiny nub right here. There we go. Maybe I'll grab my scissors out just for those little corners too. We are very close to finish. Another thing I'm going to do is go through to make sure I've got adhesive in all the spots, because it looks like there are several where I did not put adhesive quite in the right place. Okay. Thought we were done, but no. Border Maker System, come on back out here. Punch one more blue, and one should be enough for both sides. If I wanted to get creative with this, I could even maybe put this up here and then put an embellishment over the gap, but I'm not going to worry about that today. Just punch out a new piece. And this paper, at least on this side, really doesn't have a specific enough pattern for it to matter where I've cut my piece from. So again, to 1 1/8. 1 1/8. That strip should be the same size as the ones we cut earlier. And now we can attach one here and then one over here as well. Okay, so we have our two borders, which we're going to use on our project recipe that we'll put together in the next video. And I am going to go back with some scissors probably and just trim up a few places that are not quite clean, and add some more adhesive to the edges to make sure everything is stuck down. But other than that, our borders are finished. So we'll see you in the next video where we make the project recipe.